So now we're moving away from our picture, which I do have here, into this idea that we have something that's going to end up looking like A over B, because we're going to need to do some dividing. And we remember that A over B was a fraction, but it can also be division. And in this case, that's what we're going to do. So I have here my picture that goes with 18 equals 2x. And for each of these column in the rows, we have two different columns with two different problems, but in the rows, each problem is going to actually, x will equal the same thing. Remembering that x is just a value we don't know yet. And the way to find this, there are a couple ways. So you could do the 18 equals something times 2. And so I do know that 18 equals 9 times 2. Oh, I had a missing factor, and I found it that way. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure x equals 9. But I can also find it by dividing. And if I have my 18 equals 2x, I want to get the x by itself, or I want to isolate it. So I'm just going to divide. Remember, just like in our ratio tables, when you do something to one side, you do something to the other. So 2 divided by 2 I know is 1, and 1 times x is x. And 18 divided by 2 is 9. And similarly, I can say to myself, I know 4 times 9 is x. 4 times 9 is 36. But I can prove it by, I can isolate the x because I don't know what it is and I want to know. Turn that into a 1. I did divided by 4 on one side. I have to divide by 4 on the other. And there's my 9. Now, with fractions, it's really the same thing. And you just have to remember your dividing by fractions rules. And if you remember dividing by fractions, we had keep, flip, turn. And I want to isolate my 55. So again, I can say, what times this would get me 55? Well, I know 5 times 11 is 55, so I know I'm going to have something in here. That's a little confusing, and I think I'm going to jump to dividing by x, or I'm dividing by 5/7. So I'm going to take my 5/7, and I'm going to divide both sides by it. And remember, when you keep, turn, flip, so I'm multiplying each side in order to get 1. I'm going to multiply each side by 7/5. And there's my 1. And so keep, turn, flip, 55 times 7/5. Now I could go ahead and multiply 55 times 7 and then divide by 5, but I know that 5 is a common factor of both of these numbers, so I'm going to divide by 5, and I get 11 times 7. So x is going to equal 77. Now if I put that 77, let's put it in a different color. I put 77 in here. Well, there you go. 7. I can do that same thing. I can reduce 7. They both have a factor of 7. And I get 11. 5 times 11 is 55. And so I want to do the same thing on the other side to double check. So is it possible that 3 over 7, if x was 77, I'm going to plop that in there, it'd be 33. Well, if I use that same there are factors. It's 11. So x equals 77. There are some other problems you can try. They, look like they might take a little time, but take your time, take it slow, and I'm sure you'll be able to solve them.